this program is written, highlighted by me? Can you tell me why this program is printing C, not printing C++? And if I want to print C++, what kind of change I must do in this program and it will print C++? Anybody want to explain? Can explain? Then I'll explain. Okay, that means nobody knows why this program is printing C. So I'm telling you. Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
सर फ्लोट आई 0.7 में 0.7006 टाइम्स हो जाएगा और जो 0.7 जो कंपैरिजन में है वो डबल में है 0.7.
Correct. 100% correct. This is the reason. Whenever we store any data in this integer as well as fraction part, that means having some fractional part, then if you will not tell it what this data is all about, then automatically compiler stores it in double, because double and float, these both are capable of storing that data, right, having integer and fraction, and compiler stores that kind of data. Suppose you have written 3.4 or minus 19.6. So any kind of data, positive or negative, if it is represented in this decimal form, having integer as well as fraction part, then automatically it is stored as a double precision. And double precision has more accuracy, has more memory capacity, and is more larger. You can say it is larger than float. While when you are declaring I, you have explicitly written here float. So I will be float, right? While 0.7 is not float, 0.7 is double. And we are comparing here inside is float with double. So definitely float will be smaller than double. You cannot say that both are equal. No, never. Whenever the data is stored in float, actually this is 0.69999 kind of thing that Naid was pointing out, right? So this you have written here 0.7, but in compiler, due to some arithmetical logical unit representation and float data representation, exponent and mantissa and all these concepts are there, various bits are there, 63, 64. So as per the precision and accuracy, float value is exactly not stored like this. It will be stored like 0.6999999 kind of thing. So here you are comparing I as a float and 0.7 as a double, right? So definitely this is condition is true because float is less than double is tested over here, and this is true. So it is coming as C. So how we can prevent this? We can prevent this by applying F over here. Now if we'll execute this, it will print C++. Why? Now you have written here 0.7 must be in float, right? By writing this F over here. So now it will print C++. You can see out.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, please explain it again, sir. I have network issue. That's why I'm not
Okay.
able to.
Okay. Okay. See, this was the code that was a little bit confusing, but confusion is not so much. Here I am trying to say that 0.7 is stored as a double value, double type value, right? Double type value, right? And if you want to make it float explicitly, then you have to write 0.7f is stored as a float type value, as a float type value. As we already know that in our data type hierarchy, any value stored as a double will be always larger than any value that is float. So when you have declared here float I is equal to 0.7, so I is explicitly and correctly defined as a float value, right? So when you are going to store 0.7, actually this 0.7 is stored as 0.6999999. It is stored in this way only. This will never be like 0.7 always. Floating point processor stores a float value in this manner. So whenever you are comparing here I with 0.7, then I is float value, that is 0.6999999, and 0.7 is a double value. Obviously, float value is less than double value, its condition is true. This condition is true, so output is C. So this condition is true and output is C. I am showing you output screen also. So condition is this, program is this, output is this, right? C will be printed. If you want to print C++, then make it 0.7f. Now you have explicitly made this 0.7 as float value, right? So when you will execute this, now both are float, right?
Yes.
I am telling you, now both are float here. And this condition is checking for less than, but actually they are equal now. And this condition is failed. So C++ is executed, printed. Is 0.7. This is a float value 0.69999, and here you have made it as float. This is also 0.69999. So they are equal actually. So you are checking for less than, so it will be failed and else will be printed. So it is C++. So one more thing you can write here: if I equal to, you want to check whether these are equal or not. So then again C must be printed if they are same. Yes, now C is printed. Now condition is true. Right? So this is the explanation for this code only. Anybody has any doubt can ask me now.
सर ऊपर वाला भी एक बार सर.
Yes. I'm coming to that point. Don't worry. So first, we agree with this. Okay. So now I'm making this program as comment, so that it should not disturb my above program, and above program I am uncommenting, right? Making a line also. Now I have uncommented above. This output I must do here itself as a comment. So now this is the program, and there is no difficulty in this program also. If you are aware of post increment, pre increment concept, you should not be doubtful, right? Now again, tell me anybody why this output 9 is coming, or what should be output. Even you have seen output, then also you can explain me. In this code, you have to clearly see this point. This is post increment, right? So what is post increment? Post increment is use then change. Post increment applies this concept of use then change. So what is use over here? Returning a value is the use, right? Look, in this function, I is the variable, or you can say the parameter passed over here, formal parameter I is return I plus plus whatever value you will pass in that function, it will be returned by this return I plus plus. So I plus plus is actually post increment. So first it will be returned, then it will be incremented, right? So first it will be returned. So in main where the function has been called, function is called at this place. So at the same place where function is called, function will return its value and go, right? So you have passed 10 over here. So I will value is 10, return, here I plus plus will be done, but value of I is 10 and it will be returned first, then incremented, okay? So if returned first, then incremented, so what will happen? 10 value is returned. That means at this place where function is called, value 10 is kept and that is assigned to this I. Now this I is a different I. In function, int I is different and in main this I is different. Both I's are different, right? Because their scope is local to that function only. So that 10 is initialized to I. Now you are coming to printf and I will be decremented. So whatever I is returned from this place is different. It has left its value at this place 10 and that is assigned to new I. You cannot say कि अभी I का यहाँ पर जो increment होना था वो तो अभी हुआ नहीं सर और I में आ गया, but this I is different, this I is different. So function will left 10 value at this place that is assigned to this I inside main. Right now this I is being operated only here in printf. So minus minus I will be 9. This output will be 9 for that reason. Output is 9. Just because of this post increment, we have to explain this. Anybody else has any doubt regarding this? Or you want me to make any changes and see what happens? Anything else you want to say? Is that okay to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So if in return statement we give plus plus I, then what will happen?
Obviously, then 11 will be returned. Then output will be 10.
Okay.
I'll show here plus plus and remove this. Then what will happen? 10 will be passed. So in return statement, this expression will be evaluated. Even in return, we can write a plus b. Then also return result of a plus b is returned actually. So if I have written here plus plus I, then I will be incremented to 11. 11 will be placed at this place, stored in this I, decremented again, it will be 10 now.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So now file handling is completed. No more further file handling will be done. Now I am starting with first unit, theoretical part. First unit is theoretical part that I have to start with today. Right, screen is visible to all of you. If not, please inform me immediately. So here, introduction to programming environment, quite theoretical. You should listen it only, that is more than sufficient, and you have to learn by heart few things. And because objective questions may be asked from this one also, so conceptually you should learn this thing. So introduction to programming environment. Programming environment is the environment in which programs are created and tested. First of all, this word environment this actually implies directly to operating system, because operating system is responsible for any kind of environment, whether it is programming environment, whether it is uh, typing environment, whether it is device execution environment, any kind of environment is actually provided by operating system only. So programming environment is actually provided by operating system, but in presence of compiler. So compiler is being supported by operating system for programming environment or programming purpose. Right, programming environment consists of set of support tools, command languages, or invoking the tool. Tools are compilers and all editors and all these things. Each support tool is another program that may be used by programmer as an during more than one stage of program creation. Tools, example, editor, debugger, verifier, compiler, and all these things. Then next theoretical question comes in exam is about digital computer, but your theoretical exam will not happen. Then also for MCQ you have to prepare. So digital computer is an electronic machine that works on digits. Digit is binary digit is called bit. A digital computer is a digital system that performs various computational tasks. Digital is an information shown by variables that take limited number of discrete values. Right? Generally, these are in the form of 0. And these values are processed internally by components and discrete states are maintained. Voltage states, high is 1, low is 0. In semiconductor devices, generally it happens. In this case, in comparison to digital, we have one more term that is analog. Analog is just like your sine wave kind of thing. But digital is a rectangular kind of representation of that wave. So bits, digital computers are used binary number system 0, 1, this is bit. So now information is represented in digital computer in group of bits. By these groups of bits, we can represent not only binary numbers but also discrete symbols, digital letters, alphabets, ASCII values, American Standard Code for Information Interchange. Further development of symbols and sets of instructions are also possible for doing many computations with the proper arrangement of bits. Binary numbers base 2, 0, 1, any number can be converted, any decimal can be converted to binary by multiplication in the power of 2. So next thing is block diagram of digital computer. All these components I'll discuss one by one. This is a theoretical question actually, but you should aware of this thing, and I know most of you are aware of this thing because most of you have already learned these things earlier in previous classes also, because this is now general awareness based concept. So this is a block of digital computer. You can see mainly there are 3 units. First unit is here, central processing unit. In diagram it is represented in this way, but as per the importance or significance or role, you can say that this is the first unit, central processing unit, CPU. It has 2 parts, control unit and arithmetical logical unit. Then second unit is storage unit, right? Secondary storage and primary storage, permanent memory and random access memory. And to store data, to see data, we have 2 type of other units. They are actually called IO unit, input output unit. So input unit generally it is keyboard, output unit generally it is monitor. So data is flowing in this way, all the arrows are representing, but they are all connected, right? And this connection is actually controlled by this control unit. So all the kind of devices, software, hardware, memory, buffers are controlled by this control unit only. So this is a block diagram, you can see. Now I am discussing here in detail whatever units I have told here in this diagram. Input unit to enter data or programs into computer system. Therefore, the input unit takes data from user to computer in an organized manner for processing. So in an organized manner is actually representing the need of some synchronization. Suppose your input device is quite fast, but your receiving device, I have told this thing in file handling also, receiving device or your memory is not so fast, so there should be a buffer in between to synchronize speed of these things, right? So if you are entering data very fast, but the memory or CPU is not able to accept it in the same speed, so there should be some buffer, some queue will be maintained and data will be entered from that queue. Next unit is storage unit. Saving data and instructions permanently is task of storage unit. So every time whatever instructions you give, before that instruction to manipulate data, First, you have to store that data. So you have to give one instruction to make storage area and store data actually in that storage area. That means variable declaration and initialization true value. So storage unit is required. Okay, it is because the processing speed of and something buffers are also part of storage unit. You can say because it is also a part of memory. So far, the data has been provided CPU with the same speed storage unit, faster access and processing. This storage unit or the primary storage unit system is designed to do above functionality. It provides space for storing data and instructions both. In memory mapping, also we have seen various parts of RAM, code segment, data segment, extra segment, or stack segment. So these are the storage units. Memory hierarchy we will discuss, then we will discuss different type of memories also. So the storage unit performs following major tasks. All the data instructions are stored here before and after processing, and few intermediate results are also stored in memory in some temporary variable, in some accumulator register, right? All these things are part of storage memory, storage unit. Then we have processing unit. Control unit is actually processing unit. Arithmetical logical operations can be performed in processing unit. CPU takes data and instruction from storage unit and makes all sort of calculations by decoding the instructions. Right? Instructions are being decoded. What is the meaning of the instruction is decoded, and accordingly processor works. Then output unit is whatever data or result you have created is being shown on output screen. Either it is monitor or it is a file. Output is stored inside computer or further processing or display. Then control unit is the controlling of all the operations, input, processing, output. It takes care of step-by-step processing of all operations inside the computer. Now functional units. These are the physical units that I have discussed here. Now we are actually this processing unit and control unit work hand in hand. They are inherently connected with each other. The functional unit, various kind of functions we have to perform, or digital computer has to perform. Accordingly, we have defined different type of units: arithmetical logical unit, control unit, central processing unit. So, what is arithmetical logical unit? After you enter data through input device, it is stored in the primary storage unit. Okay, variables int I is equal to 10. 10 is stored in I, integer variable in RAM, in stack segment, wherever the local data can be stored. The actual processing of data instructions are performed by ALU, arithmetical logical unit. Okay. The major operations performed by ALU are addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, logical, and comparison. This you can see that arithmetical and logical both words are here. So both kind of operations can be done. Data is transferred to ALU from storage unit whenever required. Okay. Storage unit is RAM. So data is transferred from RAM to this ALU. After processing, the output is returned back to storage unit for further processing or getting stored. Okay. Then what is the functional task or functional representation of control unit? The next component of computer is control unit. Is like the supervisor. All the things are done properly. No data loss should be there. No incorrect result should come, and no collision of instructions should come be there. Right? Synchronized way should be there. Whatever instruction is written before should be executed now. Whatever instruction is written afterwards will be executed after. So all these decisions are made by control unit. So control unit determines the sequence. So you can see here, this is underlined. So this is main task. Sequence in which computer programs and instructions are executed. Things like processing of programs stored in main memory, interpretation of instruction, issuing of signals for other units of the computer to execute them. These are all major tasks of control unit. It also acts as a switchboard operator when several users access the computer simultaneously. So here comes a term that is multi-processing or multi-programming or multitasking. तो कंट्रोल यूनिट स्विच बोर्ड की तरह से है, एक प्रोग्राम से दूसरे प्रोग्राम में, एक प्रोसेस से दूसरे प्रोसेस में तेजी से स्विच करता है. तो जिससे कंप्यूटर यूजर्स को लगता है, ह्यूमन बींग्स को, कि हमारा कंप्यूटर मल्टीटास्किंग कर रहा है. बट एक्चुअली में वो बहुत तेजी से स्विच कर रहा है, तो उसको हर काम को थोड़ा थोड़ा करके चल रहा है, जिससे लग रहा है सारे काम एक साथ पूरे हो रहे हैं. Thereby, it coordinates the activities of computer's peripheral equipment as they perform the input and output. Then CPU के अंदर हमने देखा ALU और CU ये दो जॉइंटली टास्क करते हैं, वर्क करते हैं एक साथ, और ये CPU को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं. CPU को हम बोलते हैं कि ब्रेन है कंप्यूटर सिस्टम का. But definitely this brain is not cannot be compared with human brain, because human has created this CPU and all the instructions are already well defined. Only decoding of that instruction and matching behavior is represented by CPU, whatever is already defined. तो ये अपने आप से कोई डिसीजन नहीं लेता है, ये कुछ लर्न नहीं करता है, ये कुछ सीखता नहीं है. वो सब आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस और न्यूरल नेटवर्क में हम आगे पढ़ते हैं. ये सारी प्रोग्रामिंग में हमने जितने भी कोड देखे, कंपाइलर लाइब्रेरी है पहले से, उसमें सारी मीनिंग्स लिखे हुए हैं इंस्ट्रक्शन की. उन मीनिंग्स के हिसाब से वो इंस्ट्रक्शन को डिकोड करके आगे टास्क परफॉर्म करता जाता है. तो उसके पास एक तरह की येलो पेजेस हैं उसके पास, या डिक्शनरी है उसके पास मीनिंग निकालने के, और उसके हिसाब से वो वर्क करता है. और वो फंक्शनिंग भी सारी की सारी ऑलरेडी वेल डिफाइंड है. तो कंप्यूटर हार्डवेयर में क्या होगा? सीपीयू, रैम, आईओ प्रोसेसर, तीन मेजर पार्ट्स. सीपीयू में अरिथमेटिकल लॉजिकल यूनिट होगी, नंबर ऑफ रजिस्टर्स होंगे, कंट्रोल सर्किट्स होंगे, चिप्स होंगी, बहुत सारी चीज़ें होंगी. मेमोरी में हमारे पास इंस्ट्रक्शंस होंगे, रैम होगा. आईओ प्रोसेसर में इनपुट आउटपुट डिवाइसेस होंगी और बफर्स भी होंगे. राइट, आईओ प्रोसेसर का ही एक छोटा सा पार्ट होता है जिसको हम आईओ प्रोसेसर बोलते हैं, जो आईओ डिवाइसेस से डायरेक्टली कनेक्ट करता है. राइट, एक तो प्रोसेसर वो है, तो सीपीयू के अंदर ही ये सारी चीज़ें हैं. कंट्रोल यूनिट भी है और आईओ प्रोसेसर भी है, वो बस के थ्रू कनेक्टेड होते हैं. बस माने सेट ऑफ वायर्स. तो कुछ डायग्राम बना हुआ है. दिस डायग्राम्स आर नॉट एसेंशियल फॉर यू, दिस इज जस्ट पार्ट ऑफ नोट्स. तो यहीं से देख लेते हैं, पुराने ज़माने के कुछ डायग्राम्स हैं इसमें लिए गए. नाउ नेक्स्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग इज टाइप ऑफ सॉफ्टवेयर. Hardware is not so much important for us, for as a CS students. We are more worried about software, and we already know hardware is the body, software is the soul, and without soul no body will work, right? So type of software: system software, application software. System softwares are again divided into three: operating system, programming software, utility software. Application softwares are like MS Word, MS Office, and other. These are applications, Oracle, database software, right? So the different type of applications are specifically developed for different type of purposes, and these purposes are fulfilled by the software known as application software. So program, what is a program? Program is a set of instructions or sequence of instructions. For the computer is called a program. We have already done so many programs. Now this definition is only a representation for us, because we have seen real program. The data that are manipulated by the program create the database. Then system software. System software is actually the main software that is written once and executed always, kind of thing. It is a software that is used to manage and control the hardware components, and which allow interaction between hardware and other type of devices. So you can see that main application or main example of system software is operating system. So here these things are written just because of operating system. The most obvious type of system software is operating system and device drivers. So device drivers are also programs, and they are stored within operating system at some place in memory. Then next is utility software. So utility softwares actually run behind the scene, right? And they are automatically invoked. We don't have to double click on anything, then only it will be. Yes, we can stop them, we can prevent them running, but they will be automatically invoked, so that our system should work fluently without any risk. You can see here it is software such as antivirus software, firewalls, or disk fragmenters. These are utility software which helps to maintain and protect the computer system but not directly interface with the hardware, right? Whatever new information is coming through internet or internally from the system that can be malicious or that can harm our system, is handled by utility software actually. Right? So these are utility softwares. MS Word is not utility software. Antivirus program is utility software. And why antivirus program is required? Because whenever we are connected to internet or we are using USB or pen drive with some data we have already got from some other resource, then along with the data, some kind of malicious information can also enter, right? When we will copy that data from USB to our system. Then utility software or firewalls will protect us. This is for the protection part. If it will not be present, then your system will be get infected, right? You get infected, and then your hardware, that means maybe your memory, RAM, or maybe your monitor or CPU can stop working suddenly, and your operating system may crash. So utility softwares will help us for preventing all these things, and our system should work fluently. Then application softwares, also known as apps now because of Android. Thanks to Android operating system or Android-based phones, apps are more popular now. Are designed to allow the user of the system to complete a specific task or application. They include programs like web browsers, MS Office, games, media players, and so on. So these application softwares are actually invoked by us. Even some are stored along with the operating system or so, but they are, whenever they are invoked, then only they will start working. They will not work automatically like utility software. And programming software is also there for example, compilers. These are programming software. Then next conceptual thing is memory hierarchy. Next conceptual thing is here memory hierarchy. Now in memory hierarchy there is a pyramid shape made in front of you. So this memory hierarchy is actually moving from peak to bottom. Right? This is a peak. So whenever there is any kind of memory located at this peak, is the fastest and smallest memory, and any memory that is lying here at the bottom is the slowest and largest or biggest memory. So that means whenever I'll put an arrow over here, suppose I have put an arrow over here, so we are moving from this place to this place in this direction, suppose. So speed is increasing, right? Tape or optical discs are, these are the slowest one. The magnetic disc has more higher speed. Speed for what? Speed for storing and retrieving data from a particular memory. मेमोरी के अंदर क्या करते हैं? मेमोरी के अंदर डेटा स्टोर करते हैं. तो कौन सी मेमोरी हमारी डेटा स्टोर करने में ज़्यादा टाइम लगाती है? और अगर कोई डेटा पहले से स्टोर्ड है तो उसको उसको वहाँ से निकालने में या उसको हमें देने में ज़्यादा टाइम लगाती है, जिसको हम आगे प्रोसेसर पर ले जा करके प्रोसेस करने वाले हैं, वो स्पीड पर डिपेंड करता है. तो जितनी बड़ी मेमोरी होगी उतनी ज़्यादा स्पीड लेगा. अब यहाँ पर हम एक कंपैरिजन कर सकते हैं रियल वर्ल्ड एनालॉजी से. Suppose we want to purchase something, we want to go to market, right? So we have money, obviously we want to purchase something using money, right? So we have different places in our clothing and in our body where we can keep that money along with, right? So first of all, few money I can keep in my hand, right? Even it is not safe, then also I have kept some money in my hand, but that money cannot be so much, right? It will be quite less money. Or suppose I have not no money in my hand, so some money is in my upper pocket. So whenever anything I want to purchase, immediately I'll take out money from my upper pocket or shirt's pocket or blazer's pocket, and I'll purchase that particular thing. Okay. Again, capacity of pocket is limited. You cannot keep so much money in your pocket, even it is dangerous and risky also. Then you have another pocket in your pants or anywhere else you want to keep आपने टेलर से बनवाया है एक बड़ी सी पॉकेट पैंट में, तो वहाँ पर पैसा रखा हुआ है, एंड इट विल टेक मोर टाइम टू गेट मनी आउट ऑफ दैट पॉकेट. फॉर द सेफ्टी रीजन यू हैव got their money in your pocket in your pants, right? So this is another thing. So if your money on your upper pocket, shirt's pocket, is small enough and you cannot purchase a thing, then you will go for your large pocket inside your pant or inside, right? And then you can purchase the thing. Even if your money is still not enough, then you have a wallet with you, and inside your wallet also you have kept money. Then this is third place. अब आप पहले वॉलेट निकालेंगे, फिर वॉलेट से मनी निकालेंगे और फिर परचेज करेंगे, तो उसमें और ज़्यादा टाइम लगेगा. Then next thing is your money is not with you. Money is in your bank account and you have ATM card, right? But you have to purchase the thing that is not digitally purchased. It will be purchased through cash only. तो आप क्या करोगे, आप एटीएम पे जाओगे, वहां पर कार्ड लगाओगे, मनी निकालोगे, फिर परचेज करने आओगे, राइट? अभी मैं यहाँ डिजिटाइज्ड मनी की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, ई ट्रांसफर नहीं है, जो भी कुछ है वो कैश से करना है. तो इस तरह से हम अब एटीएम पर जाएंगे, वहां से पैसा निकालेंगे, फिर पेमेंट करेंगे, तो फिर और ज़्यादा टाइम लगेगा. बैंक में हमारे सबसे ज़्यादा पैसा रखा हुआ है. अब देखिए हमने कहाँ कहाँ से पैसा निकाला, एक पैसा कुछ हमारे हाथ में था, तो सबसे कम अमाउंट होगा वो, और तुरंत हम उसको किसी भी शॉप पर दे करके चीज़ परचेज कर लेंगे. दूसरा मनी हमारी अपर पॉकेट में, शर्ट की पॉकेट में, थोड़ा हाथ वाले पैसे से थोड़ा ज़्यादा अमाउंट रख सकते हैं, वहाँ परचेज कर लिया. तो तीसरा हमने पैंट की पॉकेट में रखा हुआ है, वहाँ से परचेज कर लिया. चौथा हमने वॉलेट में रखा था, राइट? अब देखिए अब अमाउंट ऑफ मनी बढ़ता जा रहा है, लेकिन उसको निकालने में समय भी बढ़ता जा रहा है, ठीक? और फिर बैंक में तो सबसे ज़्यादा है, सो एटीएम से कार्ड से निकाल सकते हैं, वो तो लार्जेस्ट प्लेस है, वहाँ पर तो हमारा सारा ही मनी रखा हुआ है, सो वो सबसे ज़्यादा टाइम लगाने वाला है. उसी तरह से यहाँ पर भी है. सबसे देखिए सबसे लार्जेस्ट मेमोरी कैपेसिटी है टेप ऑप्टिकल डिस्क की, और उसके ऊपर बात कर लेते हैं मैग्नेटिक डिस्क यानी हार्ड डिस्क की. ये हार्ड डिस्क है, राइट? तो हार्ड डिस्क में सबसे ज़्यादा डेटा है हमारे पास. हार्ड डिस्क है 500 GB की, तो टेराबाइट्स की हार्ड डिस्क आ गई है, राइट? तो वहाँ पर हमने डेटा रखा हुआ है, उसमें डेटा स्टोर करते हैं और उससे डेटा रिट्रीव करते हैं, और इट विल टेक टाइम. टेप और ऑप्टिकल डिस्क तो अब यहाँ पर नहीं रहे, अब ये डीवीडी वगैरह होते हैं अब, क्योंकि ये आउटडेटेड हो गए हैं, बट स्टिल रिटन ओवर हियर. बड़े बड़े टेप होते थे पुराने ज़माने में, जब हार्ड डिस्क से भी ज़्यादा डेटा रखना होता था, उन टेप्स को पहले इंस्टॉल करते थे, अटैच करते थे कंप्यूटर सिस्टम में, तब उससे डेटा ट्रांसफर होता था, राइट? ऑल दीज थिंग्स. ऑप्टिकल डिस्क इसी तरह से. फिर हमारे पास जो डेटा है वो थोड़ा कम क्वांटिटी में है, तो हमने फिर रैम यूज़ किया. अब रैम की कैपेसिटी कम है, गीगाबिट्स में है, मेगाबिट्स से गीगाबिट्स में. पहले मेगाबिट्स में थी, अब जीबी में आ गई है रैम, राइट? तो रैम के ऊपर डेटा है वो कैपेसिटी में कम होगा, बट स्पीड फास्ट हो गई है रैम की, ऑब्वियसली. फिर रैम से ऊपर बढ़े तो कैशे मेमोरी. कैशे मेमोरी इज अ स्पेशल टाइप ऑफ मेमोरी above than RAM. Sometimes it is part of RAM, and otherwise now in system this is separate than RAM and advanced memory it is. तो कैशे मेमोरी की कैपेसिटी और भी कम है, ये मेगाबाइट्स में ही है, कैपेसिटी कम है और स्पीड फास्ट है, राइट? एंड सबसे लास्ट में सबसे ऊपर ये REG लिखा है. REG का मतलब है रजिस्टर. REG का मतलब है रजिस्टर. ये रजिस्टर्स है, मैंने आपको ऑलरेडी पढ़ाया हुआ है एक रजिस्टर जिसका नाम था एक्यूमुलेटर रजिस्टर. अब ये रजिस्टर सीपीयू के अपने, अब तभी देखिए हमने जब स्टोरेज क्लास पढ़ा था ना, तो रजिस्टर स्टोरेज क्लास का एग्जांपल क्या था कि उस वेरिएबल को रजिस्टर डेटा टाइप का, रजिस्टर स्टोरेज क्लास का टाइप का बनाते हैं जो बहुत ज़्यादा फ्रिक्वेंटली एक्सेस करना है. जैसे हमें फॉर लूप है और उसमें आई एक वेरिएबल है, दैट आई वेरिएबल इज रनिंग 10,000 टाइम्स और 1 million टाइम्स और 1 billion टाइम्स inside the loop, right? So I is changing so much frequently, so I can be made of register storage class data type. तो वो फास्टेस्ट डिवाइस है. रजिस्टर हमारा फास्टेस्ट मेमोरी हैंडलिंग डिवाइस है जो स्टोर करती है. तो इस तरह से मेमोरी हायरार्की को हमने यहाँ पर देखा कि नीचे से ऊपर तक इस तरह से इसकी स्पीड लगातार ऊपर की ओर बढ़ रही है और कैपेसिटी कम हो रही है. तो रजिस्टर्स आर ऑफ फ्यू बाइट्स ओनली, 2 bytes or 4 bytes, it depends on the structure of CPU, right? So this memory hierarchy I have discussed with you. Now discussion is given over here also. You will learn here few words that you have not learned here. You will learn them in your computer organization and architecture subject. It is full of these things, right? Only. So registers are embedded inside the CPU. They have very less capacity but fastest speed. CPU has so many registers like program counter, instruction register, IR, memory address register, memory data register, accumulator register, general purpose register. So various registers are there with CPU. वो CPU की अपनी proprietary है, वो आपको हमेशा available नहीं होगी. Then cache memory is there. Cache memory is very fast, typically taking only cycles to one cycle to access. But since it is embedded directly into the CPU, so ये L1, L2, L3 cache memory है. Then RAM है. RAM is slower than cache memory, and generally whenever any program is going to execute, it must come on RAM from any memory, right? From hard disk generally. Any memory means hard disk. Then slowest is the hard disk. So hard disk, CD-ROM, USB pen drive, anything that is detachable or auxiliary memory or hard disk, that is the slowest one. So this was all about this first unit, this part, and next part I'll discuss in next lecture.